Riley from Reader Turned Writer. Today I am sharing what makes up a habit so that you can create your own writing habit. I have a daily writing habit. I wrote most days in 2019 and so far in 2020 I have written every single day. I know that there are a lot of writers out there who want to write daily but struggle to make it a habit, whether that's a daily habit or a weekly habit or a 3 times a week habit. However often you want to write, this video will help you to create that habit. I know some writers don't want to create a habit, they like to write when they're inspired, and that is just fine. This video is not saying that you need to have a writing habit, it is simply going to give you the tools you need if you do want to have one. Creating a new habit, no matter what it is, can be really difficult, and often we try to do something new and then eventually we just stop trying because it ends up being too hard or feels like it's not sustainable. Last year I read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and it was very useful to me. I really love the way that his book is set up and the information that he shares in this book. Today I am going to break down some of the things that he teaches in Atomic Habits and apply it specifically to a writing habit. I do have a bullet journal page, so I will go on over to that now to dive into this information. Before I dive into more of the application side of things, I wanted to touch on a broad principle that drives everything I'll talk about after that. That concept is your identity, or who you define yourself as. The driving force behind all of our actions is how we see ourselves. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you're going to choose more healthy choices, taking the stairs, exercising, eating smaller portions, etc. If you see yourself as an unhealthy person, then every time you try to change in order to make healthier choices, you're going to be fighting against your very nature, and it's unlikely that those changes are going to stick. What kind of identity do you want to have as a writer? For me, being a writer means actually writing, finishing drafts, editing them, working on my book every day. For you, it might mean working on it every weekend, or every workday during lunch. Whatever it means for you, before you can get a new writing habit to stick, you need to change your identity. You need to see yourself as a writer. One of the best ways to do this is to start making small choices that reinforce the identity you want. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is a vote in favor of who you see yourself as. Every time you choose to miss a day of writing, or put off the actual act of writing, you're voting in the wrong direction. Every time you make the choice to work on your book, even for 5 minutes, even if all you get is a paragraph, even if you end up brainstorming and finding inspiration on Pinterest instead of getting words down, every time you make that choice, you're voting to see yourself as a writer. Notice you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. or spend hours a day or even week writing. You don't have to pump out a huge word count or write a whole novel in November. You simply have to take a small, consistent step in the right direction and repeat that often enough that it will reinforce your identity, which then makes it easier to make choices consistent with that identity, which then reinforces your identity. Then suddenly you have momentum and your habit is rock solid. It's very important to keep that concept in mind as we talk about the fundamentals of a habit, because that momentum is what we're aiming for as we make the small changes that do create habits. In Atomic Habits, Clear breaks down the 4 elements that control a habit, and we're in more control than we think. While our habits are subconscious, controlling these elements in a conscious way changes the way our lives move subconsciously. With a habit, you have a cue, something that jumpstarts you into your habit. This cue initiates a craving. The habit is the response to that craving, and then the behavior gives you a reward. So you walk into the grocery store and you see oatmeal cream cookies. I have to admit, I love those. Seeing them on the shelf is the cue. The craving is, my body wants to eat those cookies. They taste good and they give me a sugar high. My response is, I put them in the cart and buy them and eat them. The reward is the sugar rush that I get, which then reinforces that craving the next time I see them. To create a new positive habit, you need those 4 things: a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. To set up a new habit in your life, you can make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. Notice that each of those actions correlates with one of the 4 things that make up a habit. Now let's look at some examples of how you might use these specifically with writing. So first, you make it obvious. Some different examples of how you might do this. You might put a reminder on your phone or have a specific time or place that you write. For me, I have a specific time or place that I write. I write in bed at 6:30 every morning. You might write with someone else, making it a date or an appointment that you can't miss. because that other person is counting on you. Or you might have someone else remind you, send you a text or give you a call and say it's time to write. You can leave your laptop where you see it often, like on the kitchen counter, or a sticky note on the mirror in the bathroom. You can also put a reminder at the place where you go when you want to write. For example, if you want to write at bedtime, you can leave your laptop on your pillow. Or if you want to write during your lunch break at work, you could put a sticky note on top of your sandwich. One more example would be you could have a reminder on your computer that pops up to tell you when it's time, or a program on your computer that shuts off all the social media sites for you. The next step is to make it attractive. One way to make it attractive is to combine it with something that is attractive to you. For example, I eat a balance bar when I write in the morning. I really love balance bars. Another way to make it attractive would be to do it with other people. You could do this with write-ins, NaNoWriMo. There are a lot of different communities out there of people who want to write together. Another way to make it attractive is to not have a set type of writing that you're supposed to do. Maybe you allow yourself some exploration time before or after you write. You can also make the location more fun. You can sit where you can see a great view, or go to a coffee shop, or have a special area in your house that you really feel good in. Kind of along with the location is you could surround yourself with things that bring out your creativity. Right in front of your bookshelf that's full of your favorite books, or set up nerdy posters around your desk. Play inspiring music from Lord of the Rings. You can even dress yourself up. I've heard of people who like to get kind of dolled up as they sit down to write because it makes them feel more creative. Moving on to make it easy, the third step. One way to make it easy is to find a space that is away from other people, away from your family or your kids to write. Another way to do it is to write in bed or at a location that is easy for you to get to. I write in bed because it's really easy for me to just grab my laptop and sit and write. I know some people like to write at desks, so you could have a desk right next to your bed. So all you have to do is take 2 steps in the morning. You might write at the counter while you're making food, or sit at the kitchen table so you can watch your kids while they're playing, giving yourself the time to actually write. Another way to make it easy is to set up the space beforehand so it's all ready to go. All you have to do is sit down and write. Leave a snack there, have your computer, even have your computer asleep but with your novel already up. If you have notebooks that you like to brainstorm with, or if you've printed off your novel and you're editing, you can have all of that right next to your computer, so literally you can just sit down and do it. One of my favorite ways to make it easy is to keep your word count or time goal small each day. It's not a limit, but it is a minimum. So for me, I say that I want to write 500 words a day. I can definitely write more than that if I want to, and some days I do. But if not, it's really easy for me to sit down and write 500 words. I have a really hard time sitting down and writing if I'm like, man, I have to get out 2,000 words while I'm sitting here. For some reason, that really blocks up my ability to actually sit down and write. If you don't keep track of word counts, then you can definitely do this with time. I'm going to write for 30 minutes, 5 minutes. One time my sister-in-law was writing a novel and she just wasn't feeling very motivated to write, so what she said is, all I have to do is 5 minutes. And most of the time, she would keep writing after the 5 minutes, but literally all she had to do was sit down for 5 minutes, and once that passed, then she was able to raise up her minimum a little bit and write more. But at the time that she was really struggling to do it, it helped her to keep her habit and to continue to see herself as a writer. My last idea for Make It Easy is to do it at the time that is best for you. And this is going to take a little bit of trial and error probably, at least it did for me. Ask yourself questions like, are you a morning person or a night owl? Do you have a lunch break at work or a nap time you could use? You can try out different times to find out when works for you. I'm a morning person and I know this about myself. So I knew that when I started writing that I was not going to be able to write at night before bed. I just way too tired to be consistent with that. I've lost all my discipline by that point. Because I have kids, I thought nap time would be a great time for me to write. And I tried that, but as hard as I tried, I wasn't consistent with it. I didn't want to write during nap time. I think I saw that time as like my time to do whatever I wanted because finally I had a break from the kids. And so I didn't want to sit down and be responsible some more. So I decided to try doing it in the morning. And I do wake up earlier than I would if I wasn't writing, but I do go to bed earlier as well because I definitely am the kind of person that needs 8 hours of sleep. But because I wake up a little bit early and I can spend 30 minutes writing every day, I'm really consistent with that time. It works for me. I know there are lots of people out there that writing first thing in the morning would not be something that would be easy for them to be consistent with. That's why you have to find what works for you. And the last step, make it satisfying so that the next time you have that cue, your mind goes, oh yes, it's time to write, and you actually do it. I love lists and charts and to-do lists and all of that. So my first idea is for people like me, and it is to check something off a list or color in a box on a tracking chart. You could check off that you wrote that day. You could color in how many words you wrote, like, oh, I wrote 500 words today or 1,000 words today, and color in a boxes on a chart of how many words you're aiming for. My next idea is to tell someone about what you wrote that day. If you are really excited about what you've been writing, then you can go and you can share with your husband or a writing friend something that you wrote that day that you're really excited about, and that can be a reward for having actually gotten it down on paper. My next idea is to keep track of each milestone, and this can be however you want, if it's just, checking the word count or marking it on a chart, but you can keep track of even the small ones. Oh yes, I wrote 2 scenes today. Oh, I made it 25% of the way through my book. I made it to 50,000 words. I made it to 10,000 words. Whatever milestone you're on, it's great to celebrate each of those milestones. And it's even better if you celebrate each milestone with someone else, even the small ones. Go out to ice cream with your husband because you hit 50,000 words. Have a special breakfast with your family because you finished writing Act 2, which is a huge act, or whatever. Each milestone you do, you can have little celebrations with other people. My final idea for Make It Satisfying is to allow yourself something you love after you finish writing each day. This could be a treat. It could be something like a healthier treat, like a balance bar, like what I do while I write. It could be you get time to read in your favorite book if you write for an hour first. My sister-in-law allows herself to watch Brandon Sanderson lectures after she's done writing at night, which is funny because it's also still improving her writing craft, but it makes it very, very rewarding for her because she loves watching those lectures. So those are just some examples, and there's a lot of other ways that you could personalize these 4 different areas of a habit to make the habit really strong for yourself, because once you know how to form habits, you can tailor the application to yourself. Your personality, your preferences, like whether you're a morning person or a night person, and your personal situation, like if you're working full-time, you have kids at home, etc., are all going to play a part in how you set up your habits and your environment to help you reinforce those habits. I believe that anyone, regardless of all of those factors, can use these concepts to better reach their writing goals and create a habit of it. What do you do in your current writing habits that you love? Or have you thought of things you want to try while watching this video? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.